Hello, my friends. It's me again, Eleanor. I'm very glad to be here with you once more. Today, I want to share some things that may seem very simple things that almost all of us have worried about, carried with us, and held close in our hearts for many years. I have too, no exception. It took me 76 years of living to slowly realize this. Many of the things we believe are important do not bring us the peace we once hoped they would when we look back on an entire lifetime. Now, as everything has slowed down, as I no longer feel the need to prove anything, I can sit here calmly and tell you these stories, not to teach, just to share, like someone who has walked a little further down the road, turning back to speak softly to those still walking behind. If something in today's story touches you, then our time together here has not been in vain. I began to look back at the things that had exhausted me the most, and the first thing that came into focus, very clearly, was the judgment of people who never truly understood me. When I was younger, I spent an enormous amount of energy worrying about public opinion. I paid attention to the looks from neighbors, the comments of old friends, even the imagined thoughts of people I met only once and would never see again. I wanted approval. I wanted to live in a way that was proper, that wouldn't invite criticism. I didn't realize then that I was handing over my peace to people who were not living my life. As time passed, I grew older, and the crowd slowly disappeared. The people who once made me anxious were no longer there, not because I had done better, but because everyone was busy with their own lives. They were not thinking about me nearly as much as I had imagined. Looking back now, I can see how much fear of judgment took from me my freedom, my natural way of being, and even some of the choices that truly belonged to me. And the most painful part is this: I sacrificed those things for people who never really knew who I was. When I finally let go of other people's judgments, I didn't become careless. I simply became more honest with myself. And that was enough. The second thing I want to share with you is what I call the obsession with perfection. I used to believe that happiness was something I had to wait for, something that was only allowed to appear once certain conditions were met. When my body looked better, when the house was more put together, when my career felt more stable, when everything appeared neat, respectable, and worthy in the eyes of others, I kept pushing happiness further into the future, year after year. And strangely enough, every time I reached one condition, I immediately created another. I wasn't living in the present. I was living inside an imagined future, a version of life where everything would finally be more perfect than now. But that future never arrived, and when something close to it did, it never brought the sense of relief I had hoped for. It was only in old age that I finally understood something very simple, something I refused to believe when I was young. Life is not a statue meant to be polished into perfection. Life is more like a vessel with many cracks, and it is through those cracks that light enters. The wrinkles on my face, the rooms that are no longer as tidy as they once were, the unfinished choices in my past, all of them are signs that I truly lived, that I loved, that I made mistakes, and that I stood back up again. They don't make me less valuable. They make me more human. When I stopped waiting to be perfect enough to be happy, I realized how many quiet, genuine moments of peace I had missed. And since the day I accepted the cracks in my own life, I haven't become more perfect, but I have become lighter. The third thing I want to share with you is learning to stop chasing titles and status. For a long time, I tied my sense of worth to the position I held. I believed I mattered because of my role, because of the title attached to my name, because of the way people changed their tone when they spoke to me. Business cards, meetings, formal introductions, all of it made me feel like I had a place. But titles have a cruel truth. They don't belong to you. They only stay with you for a while. I still remember the moment I stepped away. There were no trumpets, no long silence. Very quickly, someone else sat in my chair. The work continued. The organization's life did not slow down because I was gone. At first, that realization hurt. It made me feel replaceable, easy to forget. But over time, that same truth set me free. I came to understand that a title is just a chair. The person sitting in it can be changed. What lasts longer is how you treated people while you were there. Your kindness, your fairness, the way you listened, the way you treated those with less power than you. Looking back now, no one asks me what title I once held, but some people remember how I treated them. And to me, that is the true measure of the value of a life. The fourth thing I want to share with you is letting go of self-punishment over past mistakes and failures. For many years, I punished myself for the wrong decisions I had made, the opportunities I had missed, and the words I should never have said. I carried the image of my younger, foolish self like an unforgivable crime. Whenever life slowed down, those memories resurfaced, reminding me that I had once been unwise, not good enough. Strangely, I was always willing to forgive others when they made mistakes, but with myself, I was relentlessly harsh, almost cruel. It was only as I grew older that I understood something very different. Failure is not a sentence, it is tuition. Tuition paid for maturity, for deeper understanding, for the compassion I now carry. Without those stumbles, I would not be the person I am today. That younger version of me does not deserve punishment. She was simply a person doing her best with what she knew at the time. She did not yet have the experience or the calm perspective that I have now. When I stopped treating the past like a prison and began to see it as a classroom, the weight in my heart grew much lighter. I haven't forgotten my old mistakes, but I no longer let them define my worth. And it turns out that forgiving yourself is one of the greatest gifts old age can offer. The fifth thing I want to share with you is stopping the need to control the future. I worried a great deal. I believed that if I thought carefully enough, planned far enough ahead, and prepared for every possible outcome, I could avoid suffering. I made plans for things that hadn't happened yet. I imagined losses before they arrived, as if that kind of preparation would somehow make the pain easier when reality finally came. But that wasn't true. Those worries never prevented bad things from happening. They only took the present moment away from me. While I was busy thinking about tomorrow, I missed quiet afternoons, small conversations, and ordinary moments that were real and happening right in front of me. As I grew older, I came to understand a very simple truth. The most important things in life arrive without notice, both joy and sorrow. We cannot schedule a meeting that will change our lives, and we cannot accurately predict when a great loss will come. Trying to control the future keeps us living in constant defense. It makes us tense, closed off, and afraid of things that haven't even happened yet. When I slowly let go of the need to control, I didn't become careless. I simply allowed myself to live more fully in the present. I learned to be present for the small things of today, instead of sacrificing them to the worries of tomorrow. And it was right here, in the present moment, that I found far more peace than I ever expected. Finally, the last thing I want to share with you is letting go of dependence on possessions and material things. There was a time when I worried more about my belongings than about my own feelings. I was afraid my car would get scratched, afraid the carpet would be stained, afraid things would grow old, lose value, fall out of style. I was so careful that it became a constant tension, as if a small scratch were a personal failure. But objects have a quiet way of making us forget their original purpose. A car exists to take us to see the people we love, not to make us anxious every time we park it outside. A home exists to shelter us, to hold laughter and conversation, not to be kept so perfect that we're afraid to truly live inside it. When I began serving my possessions instead of letting them serve my life, I felt heavier and heavier. Only in old age did I truly understand this. We cannot carry our belongings with us to the end of life, but we can carry peace. We can carry memories. We can carry conversations, unexpected visits, and moments of living honestly. Those things matter far more than any object kept in perfect condition. When I stopped letting my possessions own me, life became easier to breathe in. I no longer felt the constant pressure to keep everything looking new. I allowed myself to live in my own home, to use things for what they were meant to be used for. And when objects returned to their rightful place as simple tools, my heart became much lighter. My dear friends, I don't see everything I've just shared as mistakes that needed fixing. I understand now that, at each stage of my life, I needed those things in order to survive. I needed recognition to stand steady when I was still unsure of myself. I needed titles to believe I had value. I needed control to feel safe. I needed perfection so I wouldn't be hurt again. Those things carried me through difficult years, and I don't blame myself for holding on to them for so long. But there is one truth that old age has taught me very clearly. The things that help us survive are not always the things that help us live in peace. When the road ahead grows shorter, when our energy is no longer abundant, what was once necessary can begin to feel like a burden. I no longer need to win against anyone. I no longer need to prove myself. I no longer need to carry the past like a sentence, or the future like a threat. I only need to be light enough to continue the remaining stretch of the road with clarity and kindness. And whenever I feel uncertain, whenever my heart starts to feel heavy, I return to one very simple question. A question that has helped me let go of more than any advice ever could. Will this still matter to me on the last day of my life? I mean, if the answer is no, I learn to set it down. Not in a hurry, not with resentment, just gently. Because at this age, I am no longer searching for a life that looks right. I am searching for a life that feels peaceful. Before we close today's story, I want to leave you with something very simple, not as advice, but as a gentle reminder to myself and to you, if you're still listening. Let go of what no longer has value for your soul and make room for peace. We have already carried enough, in one lifetime, unnecessary worries, expectations that no longer fit, things that once mattered but now only make us heavier. Letting go is not giving up. Letting go is recognizing that you no longer have to carry everything. If you can, I hope you live a little lighter starting today. Lighter in your thoughts, lighter in how you see others, and gentler with yourself. You don't have to understand everything. You don't have to hold on to things that only leave your heart tired. Age may take many things from us, but it also gives us a gift, the right to choose what deserves to stay. And I hope you choose what brings you more peace, not more busyness. Thank you for taking the time to sit here with me. No rushing, no noise, just a quiet pause enough to look back and to breathe a little more easily. We'll meet again in the next story. And if you'd like, we'll sit down together once more and continue letting go of what is no longer needed.